Good morning. Welcome to the October 17th session of the Chatham Historical Commission. We've got a relatively short agenda today, and we'll see what's going on. I'd just like to mention that Mr. Messina has returned from some various issues, and he has asked that I maintain the role as chair because he's feeling not as well as he would like to be feeling. So I will be in that capacity, but Mr. Messina will be a full ranking commissioner, if you will, if that defines what we're up to. Before we get started, I have to read, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Seeing none. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023, signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures, adopting during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, until March 31, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 812-500-559 hashtag, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link posted in the agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a recording of this record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. The call-in number is 508-945-4410. Conference ID number is 812-500-559 hashtag. The first order of business is approval of the minutes of October 3rd, 2023. Unfortunately, due to a copying glitch, we don't have the full minutes available yet at this point, so we'll defer that determination until our next meeting, which is
November 21st.
November 21st. All right, the first item on the agenda, not on the published agenda, but on the that we're going to deal with agenda, is 229 Main Street. Mr. Ford.
Thank you.
First, Mr. Ford, we did get a letter from Sarah Korjeff recently, and I gather this morning got some revised plans from your client. I was planning to have Mr. Burlingame read Sarah Korjeff's letter into the record just so we're all aware of what's going on. Is that reasonable?
Maybe that should occur first. I think that's probably the way to proceed.
Okay, Steve?
Mike and Ryan, as requested, I have reviewed the proposed
Your
plan.
microphone.
Mike and Ryan, as requested, I have reviewed the proposed plans for the historic structure at 229 Main Street and offer the following comments for consideration by the Chatham Historical Commission and the applicant. The building at 229 Main Street is a contributing structure within the Chatham's Old Village National Register Historic District. As such, demolition or substantial alteration are subject to review by the Cape Cod Commission. Based on the plans dated August 23rd, 2023, the proposed project preserves the original main mass of the structure and its key character-defining features, which include the roof form and 2.5-story massing, its distinctive eave trim, and the historic window arrangement on its upper floors. The proposed new windows on the first floor replace non-historic windows and appear consistent with the original historic structure. The proposed addition to the rear, which replaces a non-historic addition, is designed to be slightly lower in height than the original historic structure, retaining the historic building's prominence, and is similar in roof form, massing, and window arrangement. In an effort to preserve as much original historic material as possible, the applicant should consider the condition of the original siding and trim beneath the existing aluminum siding, and only replace those materials that cannot be repaired. Any trim features that must be replaced should be of the same design, dimensions, and materials wherever possible. Unless the existing third-floor window on the front facade is believed to be a replacement, The existing window size and form should be retained. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Sincerely, Sarah. That would be Sarah Korchef, Planner 2 from the Cape Cod Commission.
Let me interrupt the proceedings for a moment. Another example, due to the inexperience of the acting chair, he forgot to call the roll. So let's be formal here. Mr. Messina.
Present.
Mr. Burlingame.
Present.
Ms. Hamilton.
Present.
Ms. Tennyson.
Present.
Mr. Stevens.
Here.
And due to the absence of two of our commissioners, Mr. Stevens will be the voting alternate today. Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Ford, you're up.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So again, for the record, Attorney Mike Ford representing the applicants. With me, Samantha Parslow, who is the architect from Palimas, Savory, and De Silva, who has prepared the plans that have been filed with you. So when we were last here and had a public hearing, it was continued at the request of the applicant. We had reported that we had reached out to Sarah Korchef and were waiting some comments to be directed to your commission and the applicant from Sarah. As a result of that, the meeting was continued after a full public hearing. And what we have done, Mr. Chairman, now that you've heard and the public has heard the comment letter from Ms. Korchef, we've filed revised plans, and we've also submitted a protocol, a construction protocol. So let me address the revised plans first. The revisions were only two in number. First, that third-story front window, we had actually designed it on the initial, the architects had, on the initial plan a little bit smaller, thinking that would, than what exists there. So we did examine the window as directed by Ms. Korchef. We believe it is an original, and so we've changed the size of that to be exactly what is there now. So that's been done. That is also number 3 in the protocol, but when we put together the protocol, I didn't realize that would already be done for this hearing, but it is. Secondly, on the plan, you'll now see a chimney in the addition that's going to be rebuilt. One of the members brought up the fact that there was a chimney there. The commission seemed to recognize that chimney was not historic, like the rest of that addition. It has been built in fits and starts over the last 50 or 60 years. It's not part of the historic structure. However, it was pointed out that if the addition is meant to be more authentic and match the existing house, one commission member did indicate that a chimney would be good there. So we put a chimney now on that addition in response to that. If we've read too much into that, Mr. Chairman, then we can take that chimney off. But we were just trying to kind of follow some of the comments that we had heard at the last meeting. So we leave that to the commission.
I assume that's a faux chimney that's just
Yeah, it is.
sitting there.
It is.
Okay.
Exactly. So, but it would be a brick to match the other one. So those are the only two changes to the plan. With respect to the protocol, we try to be responsive and indeed track the recommendation of Ms. Korchef in numbers 1 and 2, that the construction protocol for the front portion of the building that's not being demolished, that the applicant, obviously their builder, determine the condition of the existing siding and trim covered by the existing aluminum siding, and replace those materials that cannot be repaired and reused. And then secondly, with the trim and the siding that must be replaced, it will be of the same design, dimension, and materials where possible. That's what we heard in Ms. Korchef's letter, and so we thought the best way to address that would be to put it in a protocol that if the commission sees fit to approve this, they could attach to any approval as a condition. And those are the two things that we've done since the last hearing.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions, concerns? Requests for clarification? Right?
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much. A couple of quick questions, Mike, if I could.
Sure.
I'm sorry, the young lady next to you, you introduced her, I missed it?
Yeah, Samantha Parslow. She's an architect with PSD.
Ah, okay. See
We
the
also
bo-
have Aaron
See
Polinas here.
the boss sitting there,
Yes.
watch it, okay. All right, thank you very much. Just, it's kind of a minor thing, I just noticed, on the photographs,
Yes.
is there a piece of decorative trim? Can you go to the
Yes,
photographs?
on the front of the building.
Yeah,
Yes, and if you, at the last hearing, we addressed that. There are two Form Bs on this property, and the earlier Form B had a picture where that was not present. So it's pretty clear that's been added in the last 40 years or so.
in the last what?
40 years or so. It's not historic.
Slide 14.
Yeah,
I only
slide
have one
14.
Form B. Do you
so
have the other one?
maybe we can get to that. We filed both Form Bs with the application. There it is there. So the picture on the left, Frank, that's up on the screen now, that's the original Form B. You'll see it's not there. And then on a second Form B that was prepared more recently, it was there. So,
All right.
which is why we didn't carry it, because it didn't appear to be part of the historic structure.
Okay. Just a quick comment on the application, and I may get to talk to Christina about that. You know, there's the question there, is the building or the structure on the National Register of Historic Places? Technically, it is, as a National Register district. And maybe that wording is a little bit, you know, asking more specifically, as a contributing structure in the National Register district. But
Yeah, it is a contributing structure. The question, we always interpret that application, and
Is that
you and I have had that discussion back and forth, and you
Yeah.
were going to try and get the application cleared. There really should be two questions.
Right.
Is the structure itself registered as a specific building, or is it part of a contributing structure in a district? There really should be two different questions there to clarify that.
Thank you, Christina. Got it? Okay, good. We're in the process of updating our application.
I know
Trust
you
me.
are.
You know, there's a lot of things that happen because
Yeah.
it always, you know, we always did it that way. Well, guess what? All right. But we're trying hard. But I did have one other question. Bear with me a second.
Certainly.
I can find it, and I think you answered one of them with the chimney. I guess, thank you, Steph.
She said Frank wanted me to say this.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. Okay. All the decorative trim that you've annotated on the drawing in
Yes.
H4. Now, these are trim in which you're planning to maintain.
Right, if the trim we find, as we go through this, is indeed, you know, in such disrepair that we can't use that, if we find rot or whatever,
You're gonna-
then we'll follow the protocol that we have to replace it of the same design, dimensions, and materials where possible. And that's the exercise that the protocol will require us to go through on each piece.
Well, we're really not sticklers on material. We recognize that ASIC and other materials, you know, we're not Nantucket, but, you know, so that's my own personal, but I don't think the commission has taken a strong position relative to materials, and we recognize there are modern materials that hopefully will make it last another 150 years.
Yeah, no, understood.
Okay. Well, that was it.
But
Thank you
that's
very
why we
much.
called them out and made them part of the proposal, because the commitment is that at the end of the day, that's what you'll see again. Whether it's that original one or not is the question. We'll go through the exercise, but if it's not, it will be a replacement in kind.
So right now, the medallion, or whatever you could call out in the front, you're not thinking to?
No,
You're not
it's-
thinking of
no.
adding it? It's such a
It
plain
doesn't really
front
work.
building. I wondered why someone decided to add it 50 years ago.
But if you look at the proposed and the front elevation, I
Yeah.
think it works a lot more as an historic structure now without that thing there, but.
All right. Nice application. Thank you.
Anybody else? I think we have a consensus that, well, it's a given that it's a contributing structure, but we should reaffirm that, and a consensus that the proposed changes do not substantially negatively impact the historic structure. But Could I hear a motion to whatever effect our clerk thinks is appropriate?
Thank you.
Other side.
Does he have the microphone on?
So at Section 158, I would move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building or structure located at 229 Main Street is historically significant because it is in whole or part 75 years old or more, and is located within a historic district. But notwithstanding that, the commission also finds that the proposed work to be done dated, and I will use the October 13th, 2023 date, will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second.
Thank you. Second by Ms. Tennyson. Okay, we'll do the roll properly this time. Mr. Messina.
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Ms. Tennyson.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
And the acting chair votes yes also. Okay, number 2 deals with the possibility of a referral to the Cape Cod Commission.
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission
Steve.
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the home dwelling building located at 229 Main Street is a contributing structure in an eligible or in a National Historic Registered District. And further, that the materials presented to the state showing the proposed building does not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in an eligible National Historic Resident District, and therefore discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Another roll call. Mr. Messina.
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Ms. Tennyson.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes. Okay, thank you. Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we appreciate or I appreciate the courtesy of being allowed to go first here today.
I would
Thank
just
you.
like to comment that I, for one, and I think I speak for the commission, that the materials and the presentation were as good as we've seen and appreciated.
Thank you. I'm sure
You know,
PSD
Mike,
does as well.
Alan, I just commented, Mr. Chairman, you know, Sarah Korjeff is making it very clear to me, I was talking to when I read the notes, absolutely no problem when you want to give her a heads up before. You know, her office and the staff of her office are always available, especially when you have a contributing structure. There's no question, it makes things,
Yeah.
a
No, we
lot-
try to take advantage of
Yeah.
that. We had spoken to her. She's just away, which is why we didn't
Yeah,
have the
right,
comments at the
exactly.
first hearing.
So don't hesitate when you think you need some help.
We won't. Thank you for that advice.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, if I can find it, is 275 Main Street. 277 Main Street. You guys ready? Mr. Zebrat? Let me just, I'm trying to find my agenda to properly introduce it. It's disappeared. All right, the 277 Main Street is application number 23048, presented under the Chapter 158 bylaw, and also 23-048 under Section 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Regional Policy Plan related to referrals, kind of thing we just discussed. So again, it's a two-part operation, and Mr. Zebrat will explain what he's up to. What his
Good morning,
clients are
Board.
up to.
This is Mark Zebrat. I am representing Isabel Laporte, Lambert Revocable Trust for 277 Main Street. It is our proposal to take the building as it currently is, move it slightly on the lot to bring it into compliance with zoning, and to do some alterations to the building. In the process, we plan to put the building on a new foundation, elevate the building, make it a little bit taller, replace the floor frame system, and do some alterations to the interior, to the center section of the building. I would describe the building as basically three sections. The front section closest to Main Street, the center section, which I'm going to call the connector, and the third section being the cottage on the back side. It is our intent on the front section to increase the ceiling height on that structure and replace the floor system in it. In the center section, we're going to replace the porch, which is structurally failing, hold the second floor in place, and increase the second floor area in the center section by adding dormers to give us more livable space in that section. The third section, the cottage, we plan just to put that on a new foundation. We've been to the site. There's been an engineering report on the building. It has a lot of substantial damage to it due to age, and some of it due to water damage that occurred when a heating pipe froze and flooded most of the first floor. As you saw on site, removal of the interior finishers has caused the exterior walls to become unstable. We walked over, you could actually physically press the wall and see it move in and out. So we're hoping to we will be reconstructing those walls from the inside out. If there's any questions from the board, we had an on-site meeting. I'd be glad to explain anything or answer any questions.
Before we get to that stage, I should disclose that I live at 296 Main Street, which becomes nearly in a butter, but I don't think that's going to color my judgment in any way.
We're aware of that. You
Certainly
made that
has
aware
no
at the-
financial impact. So.
You made that aware at the site meeting.
Okay, commissioners, questions, concerns? Frank?
I just want to point out quickly, particularly
Steve?
to those people who are
Sorry.
Steve got started.
who were not at the site review yesterday, that we found what certainly Mr. Zebrat has said is fully accurate. And we all seem to appreciate the fact that this is one almost 200-year-old building that is not going to be raised, but in fact replicated in every possible way to concur with the existing building. And we admire him for that effort.
Okay. Mr. Messina?
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. What happened? The first team couldn't make it?
Excuse me?
The first team couldn't make it today?
Your first team couldn't make day.
Yeah.
Just doesn't like dealing with public.
A couple of quick questions. I think in your introduction, you clarified something which was bothering me, and actually, I had a minor incidental conversation with Sarah Korjeff about the application in terms of the amount of demolition that was going to occur. But if I understand what you're saying, and I just want to clarify it, and also clarify it with the report, the insurance report from 22, Aegis, you intend to maintain the second floor in the center section.
Yeah, well, it's
So when you look at the drawing, it's yellow all over the place.
it's very confusing to explain.
Thank you very much.
In paper what we're doing, and when you start
Yeah.
coloring things in, you got planes within planes and areas within areas. So it's kind of hard to define what's getting moved and what's getting changed.
Yep.
Yes, we intend to hold that second floor in the center section in place, but we're going to be reframing between the existing timbers by adding 2x10s. Floor system's going to go up a little bit, ceiling's going to go down a little bit, but the actual heavy timbers are going to remain in place.
Well, let me just, to make my life or our life a little easier in the future. Okay. When you indicate what you're demolishing, are you going to demolish the roof on the second floor?
Yes, in the center section, it will have to come off.
So the sheathing is going to be removed?
Yes,
So you're going down to the studs on the second floor?
yes.
Why are the sheathing on the second floor? What's wrong with that?
It's rotten.
Why, you,
The
there's,
sheathing on the center floor, center section.
the boarding that is there now,
Yeah,
we are actually raising the roof on the center section and introducing dormers on that side to make the second floor more livable.
okay, but the basic, Don Aikman's not here, okay? Loss of historic material. Okay, that center section is part of the historic structure.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
We agree. And in order to minimize the loss of historic materials on that center section roof, can you not save most, if not some of the sheathing and sister it in?
Leave it in place, you mean?
Yeah, right.
No.
No.
In order to achieve what the people want, the family want to do, is to develop that second floor area into a bedroom area better than what is there now.
Yeah.
We're going to be required to remove the roof rafters and roof sheathing.
But you're going to put a new roof in then.
We're going to raise the roof actually up, and there's no sense, you can't save
raise
it.
the existing roof.
No, you can't save the existing roof to do what the people are proposing, or what we're proposing.
Hello, everyone. This is Franklin Dickinson. I had met Mr. Messina and Mr. Lear on site previously, and
I'm sorry.
the husband.
Who's talking?
It's Franklin Dickinson, Mr. Messina.
Franklin.
I don't know how you sort of got in without us knowing, but anyway, could you just start and introduce yourself again? We're actually, the commissioners are talking, and we're going to ask for members to respond, but we've met you, so I know who you are, but let's let the rest of the public know who you are and what your position is.
Sure. Hi. I apologize for jumping in. My name is Franklin Dickinson. I'm married to Ann Dickinson, who's one of the beneficiaries of the trust. And I am a licensed architect in New York, and we've made a very conscious effort to do our best to save the historical character of the house, and to maintain as much as possible. And I just wanted to add, one of the issues with that center section when we're talking about the roof is, currently the existing structure are 3x4s, 4 feet on center, and the height is 7 feet or less at the center ridge, and it just doesn't meet code as a occupiable space currently and or structurally. And the damage to the house just mandates that we increase the height to make the second floor
Okay.
occupiable and also make it structurally sound. So that's all I wanted to add there.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, if I may continue. I'm not questioning, the work you're doing or why you're doing it, okay? I'm rather want to focus on that whole center section and the roof. There's a significant amount of material, historic material, that's going to be lost. I understand you want to raise it. I understand you want to do it. But the fact that the current beams are whatever they are, 3 or 4 feet apart, that doesn't mean they can't still stay there and that you can't sister it and put another structure near it to maintain the structure. So is the actual sheathing on the roof, is it all rotted?
No, the sheathing is fine.
Okay.
And the timbers that are there are fine.
That's my point.
They're not rotted.
Right.
However, in order to develop that second floor area, we have to raise the roof up, and it's also going to get wider. It's not holding the same footprint. It's getting from
the angle's
east to
gonna
west,
change?
it's going to get wider.
The angle's going to change
So the
your
roof structure that's there would be intruding on the new space.
Okay.
That existing roof structure needs to come off in order to develop usable space up there, or code compliant space.
Yeah, okay. Well, you see why I was asking. I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
And, you know, I'm kind of sensitive when we have a structure like that. There's no question the first floor is in bad shape. Okay, so you answered my question on the second floor. Now go back to the first floor. This is all vertical sheathing, you know,
Yes.
which gives it, historically, that's what they did in 1800s, vertical
Yes.
sheathing. And it looks like most of it is in pretty good shape, except for the bottom, okay? And you mentioned in your application relative to the salvage material would be used. Is it possible to salvage? In other words, you're going to rebuild the first floor and connect it to the second floor structure?
It'll stay connected to the second floor structure.
So
We're
you're
going to
going to leave
actually,
the vertical sheathing?
the vertical sheathing, that's going to stay in place. It's not going away.
That's kind of what I'm looking for.
And we're basically going to reframe from the inside.
Okay, good. So the vertical sheathing is going to remain this so-called historic vertical sheathing?
Yes.
And then you're going to build up around it? Okay.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I was creeping up with the second floor, why we couldn't do that with the second floor too. But I guess I understand what you're saying and why you can't do it. Sorry to be so long-winded on that. You know, I've been in that building, you know, as was indicated by Steve, it's amazing that these people are willing to make such a significant investment in this property. And I just would like to see it, you know, done with saving as much historic material as possible. I think that was it. That was the key one in terms of my feeling, and I generally do support the application with those caveats. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messina.
Anybody else? I have a question, Mark. I'm not sure that it's necessarily within our jurisdiction, but given the location of this property and its adjacency to any number of houses close in, would you be willing to accept a construction limitation to the sort of the standard zoning one of no outdoor construction between July 4th and Labor Day and no trucks on the street and those other kinds of
I don't have a
things?
problem with that. I don't know the construction timing that the owners are looking for. Usually that's a Board of Appeals
But you
restriction.
told-
I understand that you're
You told me
looking
yesterday you're not going
to
to zoning.
minimize
That's why I
disruption
asked.
to the
right.
neighborhood.
Right.
You're not going to zoning? Excuse me.
Do the owners are here. Can I just ask them a quick question?
Yeah,
Bob, they
Yes.
don't have to go to zoning?
I can
Getting
answer
out of
that.
they're taking the building out of the side piece.
So zoning is not required?
That's what Mark has said.
On the lot during the summer months.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. I'm Geraldine Niebler, one of the beneficiaries of the house with my family. And yes, you know, we're looking forward to starting as soon as possible. With that in mind, we're hoping to have everything completed before the summer season would start, if that is a possibility. That's our aim, that's our goal. We certainly would be very respectful of neighbors. You know, I understand the concern with trucks and noise, et cetera. You know, we've seen that happen all around us at all different times. So within our power, we certainly would be 100% committed to that, to make sure that there's no noise problems, especially in the summer season. So I could get back to you as it continues, you know, if there's a time constraint, or if there's just like a week or so that there's noise, or, you know, I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's going
To be
to be
honest.
more than a week from
Yeah.
experience. When we talked yesterday, you said you had at least thought you had engaged a contractor, so you're
Yes.
pretty much ready to go?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
That's about the best, I think, Frank, that we can expect from.
Well, I think, I hear what you're saying, but if, there's no question, if this went before zoning, given the location of it, there would be an absolute prohibition of any work being done in the summer months.
Okay, so-
That's why I'm asking.
It's not that we're doing
And-
anything that excuse me, does not do pro forma. You know, that part of the town was tough. Yeah, sorry.
I would suggest too that we are well into the working drawings. They've expedited this project to get it going, so there would be minimal delay from your approval to the permitting process. The substantial noises are going to happen up front in the project. That'll be the excavation, the machinery, digging the foundation. and the framing hammers that you'd probably hear in a normal construction site. That would probably be well over by the summer. Most of the work, if there was work going to the summer, would be working on interior finishes,
Right,
not siding and roofing and excavation.
That's sort of the standard
Yeah.
way things work. Okay, that sounds good.
One last question.
Go ahead.
You're going to have to lift it and move it.
Yes.
Do you have any sense of your protocol?
This is a complicated renovation.
Really?
We are moving the building very little, which means we're going to have to either pick the building up and move it totally out of the way and put the foundation in, or elevate the building up, turn it, and do the foundation underneath it. That's a protocol. I have to talk with the contractor, and we're still trying to find out what's the best way to approach this to do it. It's a difficult process.
Okay, good. We've got sad experiences of losing buildings and which weren't done, not intentionally, nothing about that. But so I just would like to, something not caveat, but at least make it very clear when we approve it to the building inspector that they approve the protocol for the lifting, stabilizing, and moving it.
Yeah, I agree
Just a
with
heads
that.
up.
The owners are very committed to saving this building.
Understand, and I appreciate that.
We're taking all efforts to do that and make this a viable project. The building really is substantially deteriorated.
Yes.
The front porch is gone. You've had a chance to look at it. But we are committed to saving it, and we do not intend to drop it.
Yeah.
Literally, right. I have one other comment. Some people have raised the question about whether the mere act of moving a building that is a contributing structure constitutes a substantial alteration. And I discussed this briefly yesterday with Mr. Zebrat, that there are guidelines from the Cape Cod Commission that, and the most recent ones from 2019, that state the relocation of a historic building, if the building has not been previously moved, which this one hasn't, and it will change important relationships to other historic properties or the surrounding district, could be a substantial alteration. I have not seen any hint that this changes important relationships with the neighborhood or the surrounding district. So
Yeah, we did have that discussion yesterday, and I went back and read through the Form B, and the original owner, the captain on the ship, he set the building up so he could get a nice view of the ocean, the easterly view, high up on the hill. We're actually making it a little bit higher, so his view's getting better. And the historical significance of this building really isn't related to its current non-conforming location to the sideline. Rotating it a bit and sliding over, I don't think will impact that.
thank you. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Hearing none. Mr. Horn is in the audience. Yes, I was sort of looking at the television screen, but Mr. Horn, come on. Dr. Horn, come on up. One's from you.
Hi, my name is Greg Horn. I live at 263 Main Street, pretty darn close to the house in question, and we basically share the driveway. I fully endorse the way the house is looking, going to come across, and we're both in old houses, and they've talked to the owners. They certainly have a commitment to make it an old house, continue with the same perspective. I do endorse the same thing that that Bob talked about, and that was the issue certainly of making sure that construction would be workable in terms of making it less noisy and less intrusive and things like that. I've also, in that corner, at 263 of the side, I experienced two issues of noise in that house. One, everybody coming by and not stopping at the stop sign and trying to get by as fast as they can. And secondly, is a night one, and that's certainly at 11 o'clock at night from the Squire, getting out from the Squire. So I am used to a little bit of noise that happens there. But we do, both my wife and I certainly endorse what they come up with. The design looks pretty darn good.
Thank you.
Right. That's my.
Thank you.
perspective.
We do have in the file a letter from Mr. Horn and his wife, Ms. Felton, to that effect. We also have a letter in the file from the neighbors across the street, Bob Stack and Paulette Feelig, again, supporting the proposal. Anybody online wishes to talk?
Yes, Fred Miller.
Mr. Miller, you're there? Mr. Miller? Are you muted?
Ellen Briggs would like to speak.
All right, okay. Well, while we're checking on Mr. Miller, Miss Briggs is also on the line.
Hi, I just want to compliment this family for working so hard to save this historic treasure, and I would like to be in touch with them. I'm sorry, with Protect Our Past, and we probably would like to film the process because it's a wonderful example that it can be done. So thank you, and I hope to connect with you later.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Anybody else? There's Mr. Miller. Oops,
There we go.
we're not hearing you.
He's muted.
Not talking.
Is his microphone on?
Still can't hear you.
This is why I didn't want to call him.
Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what it was. Fred Miller, 285 Main Street. I'm the abutter to the west. Like the Stacks and the Horns, we're very supportive and very appreciative of what the family is doing. Our only concern was whether it was going to move forward, and it appears it is not being moved forward on the lot, and we appreciate that. We think what they're doing is absolutely terrific. I have been in the house, and like you all in the commission who saw it yesterday, it clearly is a bit distressed. We're very appreciative of this, delighted it's going forward, and are fully supportive.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anybody else on the commission, in the audience, whatever? A motion, Mr. Burlingame, or a number of motions.
Yeah, beginning with chapter 158.
Steve?
Beginning with chapter 158, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building and structure located at 277 Main Street is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more. It is listed within an area listed as a national or state register of historic places and is the subject of a pending application for such listing. And the commission finds that further finds that the proposed work to be done dated, give me a date.
September 18th.
September
September 18th.
September 18th, 2023, will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Messina.
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Ms. Tennyson.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes. All right, another motion on Cape Cod Commission.
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that materials presented this date showing the proposed alterations and renovations at 277 Main Street do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in a National Historic Register district, and therefore discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I'll second.
vote on that. Mr. Messina?
Yes?
Mr. Burlingame?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Ms. Tennyson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes also. You're good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the cooperation of this board, and hopefully we'll get a good project. I'm sure we'll all
We
be proud of it.
appreciate your client's efforts for sure. I think we've made that pretty clear.
Congratulations to the family.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for saving.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a review of administrative requests and ratification. There aren't any such requests. Old business, I don't know of any.
A couple of items on old business I'd like to talk about.
Okay, just let me skip to the chairman's report. I did, on Barcliff Avenue, I was advised yesterday that demolition on that project has been started. So that's on its way out, and the other two are on a hold, I guess, pending further review from zoning. Okay, Frank, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just on the chairman's report, I just noticed the 739, they've completely withdrawn the ZBA, huh? Wow.
Well, they withdrew,
Yeah.
they can come back.
Right, as well as Bridge Street.
They withdrew without prejudice, so they.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I apologize for interrupting you there. I just quickly, I know we didn't completely have it on the agenda per se, but I'm not looking for any action from the commission, but just to give a quick update on two items, and then I noticed Ryan Christenberry is also here, and I wanted to follow up on something. Obviously, I didn't attend the last meeting. I tried to tune into the meeting, but you guys were done before I could get my computer. So I think that was a world record in terms of the meeting.
That's because Ryan was so efficient.
That's right, yeah. So, but just quickly before, on something that's been going on for a while, and, you know, just like the Form B surveys, you know, it took a while, but we finally got it done, and I think, you know, Christina and the staff is gonna have a better time or an easier time handling that whole issue of Form As and Bs. The other two things we did at the same time was obviously the Form Es, which we had Dan Zotto make a presentation. But I did have a question. Were they sent to Mass Historic?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so they officially were technically, okay, because it was one question I had. Relative to the Form Es, Dan Zotto, the archaeologist who did the cemetery review, has provided that information to Holly Herbster of PAL. PAL is the archaeologist and the firm that's doing the update of our survey, townwide survey. Ryan has been in touch with her, and I have just actually spoke to her this morning. They originally were supposed to finish that work in October, but they need an extension. And in conversations with Holly this morning, Ryan, she plans to be done with the update of the archaeological survey, the report, and the updated maps, which we reviewed the first time, in about 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we should be able to have those maps. You know, these maps are really phenomenal, where they annotate and show all the significant archaeological sites in town. And I think Ryan and I both, the last time we looked at it, and it was, wow, when you think about all of the potential burials and other archaeological sites, it's not public information. I don't know how we're going to do it, but Holly said she would come, okay? But my question is, I mean, other than you and I and Christina and looking at that, I somehow would like the other members of the commission to see the scope of that work. So now, it's kind of an administrative question. It shouldn't be public, but yet the commission, I'd like the commission to look at it. So after you and I review Holly's work, I would like to try and set up a meeting, or maybe it's a meeting of the commission that's not public. And then we announce to the world that we're having a meeting, and it's not public, give them the reason it's not public, but at least the commission members, you know, will be able to see the results of that work, and we wouldn't share it. Is that doable?
So let me look into that. I mean, we obviously don't want to be in violation of open meeting law, but there may be an executive session option for this.
I was just thinking of executive session. I don't know that that is listed specifically as a reason, but it may be there's a catch-all in there, if you will, that it would prejudice whatever, as Frank said.
Right, if that's not an option, which I can look into, I believe Holly has a way of presenting area maps without specific pinpointed areas that show the resource. So it can be a more generalized area where certain resources
Okay,
are
fine.
located, and we could make that public.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been doing this for a while. I would like, other than myself, I'd like the other members of the commission to see what's going on and what it means. And so anyway, so that's an action on that. But again, she hopes to be done in about 2 weeks. We will have the results of the updated survey and the maps, et cetera, et cetera. Included into this particular survey are the results of the Atwood archaeological dig, as well as the Nickerson homestead up in North Chatham. Holly has been coordinating with Craig Cartier, who is the archaeologist who did the dig on the Nickerson, it's the Anne and William Nickerson homestead, get that right? And so the next step in terms of a task for this commission was something we've been talking about a long time, is potentially the eligibility of that homestead to be listed on the National Register. If you remember the process we used, the first step would be to prepare a letter or an application to Mass Historic. Is, in fact, the homestead eligible to the National Register? That's significant. And that would be really a great, another historic site in Chatham. So that, at the current time, we don't have funding for that. So I've asked Holly to dust off the previous estimate she gave us about 3 or 4 months ago of what it would cost. I mean, this is not just simply Frank Messina writing a letter or somebody, There's a more technical information that has to be shared. And so when we get that letter in terms of what the potential scope is, then I would like to proceed with staff, Katie, whether or not we can find funding for that. This is the kind of funding we used to use CPA funds, which we don't get anymore, so we'll see. Say again?
Town council said they couldn't be used for that.
Well, what does he know?
I said the town council said they couldn't be used for that.
Find another attorney.
Well,
Ask the same
there you
question.
go.
You ask enough attorneys, you'll get the right answer, trust me. I know, because I paid for an attorney. Okay, last but not least is your meeting last week, which I thought was phenomenal. You got great coverage in the Chronicle, and I think everybody's views on the issue of the demolition by neglect. And I reviewed it myself, again, I wasn't at the meeting, but what I'd like to say is, in conversation with Ryan also, and what I'd like to propose to the commission, a way to proceed in that, I think Steve asked the very question, where do we draw the line? And I think what we need to do to get the proverbial nose under the tent to begin to get this thing moving, and also potentially get it through town council, through the Board of Selectmen, Select Board, whatever they call themselves these days, and again, eventually to town meeting, is I think we should focus only on historic properties. And what do I mean by that? There are roughly 20-some buildings and structures in town which are listed on the National Register. My personal pet peeve is the building, the brick block, 47 Main Street, which is in terrible condition and continues to be for the last 30 years that I've been around here. And that's a good example of what we would like to protect. So I propose we focus our potential bylaw change to the not only the National Register listed buildings, but also to contributing structures in the historic districts. In other words, that means that's not everywhere in town. It's very focused. It's buildings which we and Mass Historic have both concurred, these buildings are historic. And, so it's not just us making determination, it takes it to the next level. But like, if you guys can think about that, and then Ryan, if you could also, then we could, because if you look at the examples that Ryan gave us from Orleans and Edgartown and Nantucket, they tended to do that. But I want it to be even more focused. I think if we're more focused, we might have a better chance of getting the community to accept this. That's part A. Part B is, how do you define maintenance? Okay? And I proposed, I think Steve brought that up too, is that we define it from a structural point of view. In other words, that maintenance which can affect the structural integrity of the building. Not because it's not good coat of paint, not because, there's the grass has to be cut. And that's, again, something which I'd like to pursue with Ryan and staff, is with Jay Briggs, the building inspector. How do we define structural integrity and allow buildings? For instance, the roof, the roof is leaking. Well, guess what? That can lead to structural integrity, that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's just the thoughts that I had. Yes, ma'am.
How do we then make that happen then? Because you know what? The library is an historic building, and the select board didn't really act very quickly on that leaking roof. They said, get some more pails. So, and the money had been allotted. So how do you enforce that?
Well, I take it even a step further. The Marconi building's roof was leaking for about 20 years before the
right.
select board finally did something about it. How do we
get them to take care of their buildings?
Well, at least if we had something like this, it's something that says, hey, guys, you have to do something. You can't allow an historic building to deteriorate. I mean, literally, we spent easy $500,000 more to restore the Marconi buildings because for 10 or 20 years, they let the roof leak. Not that they let it, they
didn't act.
Thank you. Sorry, my speech is over, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with your approach, and to add to that list you were just talking about, Mr. Aikman mentioned at the last meeting, the ex-water department building on Old Harbor Road.
Yeah.
The newspaper article unfortunately listed it as being on Stage Harbor Road, which is an entirely different situation. But, and the other thing that occurred to me, Frank, is there are those areas, I can't remember the name of the form now, so the neighborhood forms we did for Shore Road and
Yes.
Old Harbor Road. Now, that's another clump of buildings we might want to consider. Now, that's expanding it.
Right.
But at least that's a
And for
possible choice.
eligibility, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of work, whoever's doing it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your patience.
Sure. I think that concludes the agenda. Anybody else have any thoughts that need to be heard at this point? Christina, we're meeting again next November
November 21st.
21st. Okay.
Oh, great.
Right before Thanksgiving. Oh, yes. All right. I will entertain a motion to
I
absolve.
move that we adjourn.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Messina,
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame.
Yes.
Ms. Tennyson,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
November 21st?
And the chair votes yes also.
I think I'll be alive.
Thank you all. We'll be back in November.